What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale. I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And today we're going to be looking at the guitar solo in Holiday by Green Day. Now, this is kind of a special guitar solo for me because it's one of the first that I've ever learned. And it's a guitar solo that I teach a lot of students when they are at that level, just getting their feet wet with playing and learning guitar solos. Now, at first glance, this is not a technically challenging guitar solo. Right, so there's just kind of a quick playthrough of just the raw notes. There's a lot of repeated elements here. It's not very fast. This is not very technically challenging. But this solo is actually pretty advanced in the compositional sense. And Billie Joe Armstrong utilizes some musical techniques that we don't often think about when we are improvising a solo. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. But first, before we dive in, I want to offer you something for free. It is my Essential Music Theory cheat sheet. This helpful guide has all of our major and minor scales, all of our chords, both triads and 7 chords, and all of our keys, and a bunch of other music theory goodness. So hit the link in the box below and download this helpful guide for yourself. Now, most of us have probably learned to improvise a solo in this manner. The key of our song, Holiday by Green Day, is in the key of F minor, and an F minor pentatonic scale looks like this. And that F minor pentatonic scale can work for soloing ingredients on this whole chord progression. Kinda. And if you're like me, I stayed in that area for a long time. I thought all guitar soloing was what is the key and what is my pentatonic scale to play a solo in that key. And then as I learned more and more guitar solos and my ear started to develop, I would hear and learn solos that didn't fall within those group of 5 notes, our F minor pentatonic scale. Right? Something along those lines. I was using the minor scale there, so maybe I need to learn more about more scales, major and minor scales. Maybe the next step after that, or at least it was for me, was modes. I'm not getting to the sounds that I want, and I don't really know where other guitar players are getting these groups of notes, so maybe it's modes. Maybe more scales is the answer. I need to learn more scales and more scales and more scales. And I definitely fell within that so-called trap for a long time. Now, I got really good at my major and minor scales, and I got really good at my modes, but I still wouldn't have something to kind of put on this part of this solo. It's not out of F natural minor, it's not out of F major, and it's not in one of the modes of that scale. When I get to that point of the solo, the notes that I'm exactly playing there are G, E, and then C. In order to find those 3 notes existing within some sort of F minor scale, we need to look at the F harmonic minor scale. We could look at melodic minor, but it's most likely F harmonic minor. And that's where that sound is coming from. But I'm only playing 3 notes. Billie Joe Armstrong isn't utilizing that entire scale to play a line. He's playing 3 very particular notes. And I wouldn't have really grasped this concept or understood this until I had a wonderful teacher tell me, don't look at scales, look at chords, or try playing chord tones. And you might think about chord tones as arpeggios as well, but sometimes in guitar playing we think of arpeggios as, a minimum of 6 strings or bust. And this really isn't that. I'm still using arpeggio notes, but it's just played more like a phrase. And that's actually a more important use of chord tones than, say, a big 6-string swept arpeggio or something. So the arpeggio that I'm playing over that part is just a simple C major arpeggio. Extremely simple. It's like our most basic triad that we just first learned, especially if we look at it on the piano, just all white keys. But we never see those groups of notes present themselves in the F minor pentatonic. And that might be one reason why trying to learn a solo like this by ear, or even better understand this solo, understand where the notes are coming from, can be tricky in this one part because it doesn't fall within the minor pentatonic scale. The minor pentatonic scale that we've all been told is the answer to how to make solos on the guitar. And that is true to a certain extent, but soloing and improvising and writing music isn't just know the key and then play the pentatonic scale associated with that key. We can learn other musical concepts and techniques to evoke a certain emotion. And one of the things that I like about this solo is how melodic it actually is. And melodies are typically written by highlighting chord tones. So if we want to sound more melodic in our solo phrases, playing chord tones and learning phrases according to chord tones is much better. If we actually go through all of this solo, it's much more of a chord tone solo than it is an actual scale solo. So our first chord is D flat major. And yes, D flat because F minor has 4 flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. This is not a C sharp chord. So we are here. And the chord tone that I'm starting this phrase on is the major third of the D flat major chord. It's an F note. And it's walking up to the 5th note of this chord. So D flat, F, and then A flat. And then I have a scale tone in between those two chord tones that is being used as a passing tone. So chord tone, I'm on the 3rd F, scale tone, and then I'm up on the 5th of the 5th degree of our D flat chord. Now, something really interesting happens over the next chord, A flat. We have the same motive, 3, the 3rd of the chord, scale tone, the 5th of the chord, but in reverse. We start on the 5th degree, E flat, then we go to D flat, and then C. So we have this really nice symmetry and melodicism on these two chords. 3 working its way up to the 5th, and then 5 working down, or the 5th working down to the 3rd. The next part is our C major arpeggio on top of a C major chord. And then when we go back to F minor, we just play a power chord. These are still chord tones, 1 and 5. We repeat, which is always a good idea to do when we're thinking melodically, to repeat phrases. 3rd of the chord, scale tone, 5th of the chord, 5th of the chord, scale tone, 3rd of the chord. And then we play a really long, but really small C major arpeggio. We're on the 5th of the C major, then the root of the C major, and then the 3rd, and we hang on the 3rd for 2 measures, and then we're back to F. So we can see in a solo like this, Billie Joe Armstrong is focusing more on individual chord tones than, say, larger scales and scale tones. Now, when you start looking at melodies and solos through the lens of chord tones, you can start to kind of collide these two worlds that we live in as a rhythm guitar player and a lead guitar player. You can start to really kind of merge these together, and if someone ever calls, let's say, this tune when you're at a jazz gig or a lounge gig, you know what to do. I'd like to thank the I Real B backing band for that. So, is this a hard solo? No, this is not hard to execute, and if you're learning this solo off of tabs, you can learn the solo pretty easily. But the lessons to be learned from this solo don't really present themselves in technique, more so composition, and give us a really good lesson in more soloing ingredients. I'm not by any means saying that pentatonic scales are bad. I play pentatonic scales all the time, maybe even most of the time. But having a really great understanding of the chord progression that you are soloing on top of, and utilizing chord tones in your solo will do wonders to make you a better improviser and a much better guitar player. So I hope you enjoyed this brief lesson. Drop me a comment if you did. Let me know what you thought. Don't forget to download the Essential Music Theory cheat sheet. You can find the link in the box below. My name is Matthew Dale. I'm here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more, and I'll see you in the next video.